Bonjour and Happy New Year to everyone who didn't watch my other video. Why not, if you didn't? Because I wish everyone Happy New Year in the other one. So, Happy New Year, welcome back. If this is your first of my videos of the new year, and welcome if it isn't. This is your first one, and I will continue to do, for the foreseeable, 5 of the best new releases of the week, and 5 of the nearly got there, also rans, or under consideration, whatever you want to call it. But this week, it's the first week of the new year. It was a really light week. And last week, it wasn't too bad. So what I've done is I've combined the last week of 2023 with the first week of 2024. And that kind of made a sexy batch of comics. Otherwise, it would have been a bit light, especially this week. So we've got a combination. And we will start off with Edenwood. Tony Daniel's new project. Now, I'm really enjoying this. We're going to do a deep dive on obviously the first 5 as I normally do. I've just really liked his artwork from Year Dot when he was with Image. I think it was F5. I seem to remember. I don't know the things I forget, but I remember some random Image comic like that that's gone forever. Except for one of my long boxes in my collection. It's issue 3 of this, and I've got to admit it does go backwards and forwards, but how do I say it? I'm really enjoying it because it's so mad. It reminds me of the 90s Image stuff, where those guys would lob as many ideas as they could into everything, and it was an explosion of imagination. Sometimes that's all good, but sometimes it doesn't make for the most coherent of storylines. Hope that makes sense. But I am enjoying it nevertheless. And things are now kind of settling down. You can see, like new characters suddenly turn up, but then we flip back in time. But with this issue 3, it was like a bit of a oh moment. So that was good. Last issue of this, I know I've done this before, but I just think there's something about Hellboy and Hellboy stories. And Mike Mignola writing them, that just continues to entertain me. And I've been a Hellboy fan again since Year Dot. This Year Dot's getting a lot of look in today. Now, since the very first appearances in Dark Horse Presents, way back. Detective Comics, we've got to take another look at this artwork. I just think it's superb, and I was a big Bill Sienkiewicz fan, and still am, but particularly when he first started out, when he had that when he was moving from being when he was a bit of a Neil Adams clone, but I love Neil Adams, so I didn't mind that, where he was transitioning into a weirder, more wonderful, when he done the Daredevil, was it Daredevil and Elektra, and he was getting into that kind of area. And obviously Moon Knight was a great run, and New Mutants, the guy, just a superb artist. And talking of superb artists, I don't think I've done the main Batman title in a while. We're going to have a look at that, because I continue to enjoy it. It has been a little bit bumpy, to be fair. That was hence it hasn't been in the but with George Jimenez on the artwork. Oh yeah. And I think I've had Tenement in my also rans for, because I've said before that obviously with these horror books, where they're a bit more cerebral and it's all in the story, mostly, unless it's a ghost story or monsters, there wasn't a lot to show off in a deep dive, but there is this week, and that has been a real slow burn, and I thought it might go off the tracks, but old Jeff Lemire, I think by now he knows what he's doing. I mean, he's become quite a prolific writer recently, hasn't he? So we're going to have a look at a deep dive on those. Actually, I haven't done my what's going to be book of the week out of that lot. I think Tenement, which is why I left it last in the stack, like I always do. I don't know what I'm doing. Tenement is going to be my book of the week, because I have been really enjoying it. It really ramped up last month, and this month it's kind of come out to a bit of a it's not a crescendo because it's not the last issue, but it really did get creepy, like properly creepy, with the storyline and where it was going with it, and yeah, really nice. The also rans for this week and last, because I think this was last week, Duke. Now, this is part of the, you kind of saw the origin of this character in Transformers when his plane gets shot down in one of the issues of Transformers. I don't know if it was one. I think it might have been issue 1 or 2. And that's just off to a good start. All of that Energon universe they're creating over at Image, I'm really really enjoying that. So far there's that G.I. Joe and Transformers, and they've got Cobra Commander coming, which they've got a little highlight of in this little preview, and even that looks really great. And like I've said before, I'm not a big Transformers fan. So anyway, this is the last issue of Batman Beyond. I've done a deep dive on this before, and I've recommended this before, but I'm just going to give it a shout out for a great ending, a great 6 issues, beautifully, I've got to say, beautiful. Max Dunbar on the artwork, and the colorist, forgive me if you are watching, Rain Barredo on the colours. They worked together. I mean, I don't often do this, but just while I was on that page, look at how beautiful that artwork is. Really enjoyed it. There was something about where it's neo-gothic and it's in the future, and obviously with Batman Beyond. But there was something neon lit about the colouring, about how they approached the art and the colouring, these two guys, that I just really enjoyed that. So that would make a nice little 6 issue kind of one-off. You are relying a little bit on knowing about who Batman Beyond is, really. They don't really introduce him and take him along as a character, but other than that, nice standalone that'll make. Now, thank God the Dark Droids is up. That was my whinge of the week a few weeks ago, wasn't it? Thank God, because Greg Pak is back doing what he does best with this Vader title. Now, this is the best title for me out of the Star Wars lot at the moment, and you know I am a fan of quite a few. I won't say all, because they have got a couple of duds out there, I've got to say. But we stick to the good stuff here, and this is good stuff. I really do enjoy that, and it was so nice to have just the normal storylines back. And they're introducing some new characters, and you can see they're going off somewhere with the schisms, Schism Imperials. There's this group of them, and yeah, that's going to build up to another good read. Like, you know, if you want to get it in graphic novel form. World Tree. Now, again, I've recommended this before. This is kind of a continuation from the first. You know, it's just the beginning of Volume 2, so to speak. Yeah, just love it. That's really good stuff. Proper up to date, modern. You know, in the dark web but beyond, and etc. etc. Really enjoying that. And Captain America. Now, I don't think I made this a whinge of the week, Captain America, or I don't know if I was talking to my old mate Paul at Comics and Fantasy in Hornchurch in Essex, where I'll get all my latest stuff and back issues from. But I'm in there every week, so I think it may have been talking to him where I didn't know what was quite, because I've been this is legacy number 755, and I think I've got some issues from the 40s, like in there, from the 1940s, like issue 50 and 52, whatever it is. So I go way back with that character a little bit. Him and Daredevil. They're kind of like been my 2 favourites, kind of like forever. And I couldn't. This renumbering issue 1 with J. Michael Straczynski on it, who is a superb writer. I wasn't quite sure if this is how you treat a superhero. I knew he wasn't going to disrespect Captain America and Stephen Rogers. I just didn't have a don't know. But what I will say, with this issue 5, from issue 3, it really ramps up and you get a grip of it. But what I think it is it's such a totally different story. It's a bit like when, I don't know what writer it was. It may have been Ed Brubaker's run on Captain America. Forgive me if I'm not getting that right. But it was where they kind of made him more of a, rather than a superhero fighting other superheroes, he was the figurehead for, you know, SHIELD or whoever against other organisations, you know, against liberty and democracy. And it was more of a spy espionage kind of thing, if you understand what I'm trying to get at. I'm sure, I mean, sometimes I can't understand what I'm trying to get at, let alone you lot. So let me know in the comments if you're all, you know, if I'm losing you. But what they've done here is there's a supernatural element to the story, and I think that's what it was. But how now Straczynski has rolled this storyline out. With each issue, I will say, it's become better and better, and you kind of, and it's the flashbacks to when he was just Steve Rogers, just before he becomes Captain America. It's those flashbacks and that mirroring, because it's this new villain. It is a new villain, but obviously he knew him when he was Steve Rogers. That's all I'll say. I think that's enough of a spoiler, if you want to call it a spoiler. And they've done a really nice job of it. A really nice job. And I'm enjoying it. But I think it was because it was so different that I won't say I was struggling, but I got the first 2 issues and I've read issues 3, 4 and 5 all on the trot. And maybe that's what I should have done. But I kind of thought, right, let's give it a go. And it is worth it. So that's it. I won't do a deep dive on it because it's, is it Lan Medina doing the artwork? Yes. And he isn't a bad artist, but he's not the greatest in the world. So it's not like, you know, I want to do a deep dive on it. Anyway, before we do the deep dive on the top 5, a quick thank you. If you are still subscribing, you sexy subscribers, thank you so much. And if you are commenting, thank you as well. You know I love you all. And I do get back at the level I'm at. You know, I've got all the time in the world to answer comments until I get 1,000. Maybe then all I can do is just like them, you know, scroll down and like them. But at the moment, I'm free to chat. Let's talk about the best hobby in the world. Let's talk about it. But until then, join me after the scroll for the deep dive. Okay, let's start with Edenwood and beautiful artwork from Tony Daniel. Like I said, can't help thinking that if he collaborated with a writer with all these ideas, it may have been, but it's just all gorgeous stuff. And from the first issue, and it is a fantasy rom. I don't know yet whether they are doing it in an alternative reality or, you know, in an alternative America, because obviously, you know, it says in the beginning episode, it says like 1777, and then it comes out to modern day, and then it says now. And as you can see, all of this stuff looks, you know, and it is all beautifully rendered stuff by Tony Daniel. And again, the colorist. We do need to give the colorist a shout out. I think they put, Leonardo Pacchierotti. It's great stuff, and all the modern era. You know, all the modern era and blurs and digital effects they can put on the artwork now. It's all, this is all good, as you can see. It's all good stuff. But when you think, you know, and this isn't in this issue particularly, but you think it's set in a fantasy world called Edenwood, and all these characters are coming and going. You know, it's pointless me trying to explain it anyway. Get the comic. Then we're in the real world, Chicago, Illinois, today. And it is jarring, but in a good way. You know, and I'm not saying he's telling a crap story, but I'm just saying that there is which is a good thing, I suppose. And it is demons versus witches, basically, and whose side are you on? The witches at the moment appear to be the good guys against the demons. I know that sounds obvious, but maybe, you know, the witches aren't evil. But at the moment, it's an let's put it down to an intriguing read, very intriguing, and obviously it's dragged along by Tony Daniel's artwork. Now this one obviously was dragged along. Not that the Duncan Fredgrego's art is bad. It's glorious. It suits Hellboy very well. But it's Mike Mignola's storyline. This was just a great little 3-issue Hellboy story. And you could tell they really had some fun with this stuff. A robot Hellboy. In the first issue, that they kidnap him to put him in this robot. He's the only one who can fight these monsters. Something's going on this island. And in this issue, we do find out. And I think this is going to lead on to another kind of... There's going to be other things going on. The way they left this storyline. And all these monsters and what caused them to be there. And they're introducing this new character here, who's been on the island on the ground, like an operative of some kind, Jian. And they kind of leave it open about what's going to go on with her as well. But I just thought I'd give you a quick look at, you know, and Duncan Fredgrego's artwork, so he's always nice to look at. He just nails in that classic style, like Tony Daniel, where Tony Daniel is really a very modern and would you. I'm not saying this is old fashioned, but it kind of is, if you know what I mean. I can imagine, you know, Duncan drawing it, and there's nothing wrong with it, by the way. Drawing it by pencil, getting it inked, you know, sending it to the colorist, you know, like that old fashioned, rather than doing his artwork on a digital glass screen and blah blah. But if he does it that way, then fair play. I really do like his style, and it suits Hellboy and giant robots very, very well. Very well when it comes to a satisfying conclusion for 3 issues, in and out storyline. Loved it. Really loved it. Thoroughly recommend. Right now, on to Detective Comics. Now, I did put this in I put the Bat books in my top 10 of last year. The quality of the overall quality. I won't say every Batman family. I hate a lovely cover as well. This technique of art that the I don't know who the artist is on the covers. Who is it? Unless it is. No, it doesn't say there. Oh yeah, Even Kegel. Whoever it is, beautiful style. Now, this storyline from Ram V, he's been doing some nice, and he does other stuff. I think he's a good writer. I'm a fan, and I'm particularly a fan of this storyline, and this art style has suited this it's more of a gothic take on Batman, and I've really enjoyed it. I mean, look at the Two-Face. Love it. And they've basically, in this storyline, and spoiler alert, by the way, if you've read Detective or you haven't read this storyline, basically Catwoman has managed to get a group together. I think I did do a deep dive on this. Now I'm kind of going through I think the first issue, but this kind I did a deep dive on. But I just think this style of art and stuff like that really does remind me of Bill Sienkiewicz. Or everything about his artwork reminds me of, particularly, there'll be a particular panel. And I think, love it. Just think this stuff's great. So obviously that was the spoiler, Talia turning up, but yeah, love it. Love it. Great story. And the Bat books, like I was saying, tend to be just very well conceived, well put together, and this is the main, you know, this is your back book, right? And I've praised DC. If Marvel could find this quality for Spider-Man and X-Men, rather than keep farting around, and I know that DC fart around as well with some of their characters, you know, without going into that here, but, you know, gender swapping and agenda-driven stuff. DC do it, but I don't know what's going on with Marvel, like an editorial level where they can't get the quality on their top characters, which is Spider-Man and X-Men for me. I mean, I praised them for Captain America, I praised them for Hulk, but they just can't seem to get their two big boys, all their big boys right, and I don't know why. I don't know why. But this, for me, Failsafe is back. I won't tell you how. But George Jimenez, his artwork, I just think it suits this character so well, and he's just a great artist, so he could probably render any, you know, any superheroes you like very, very well. You know, a bit like Dan Mora. They've got these good artists, DC. They are class acts. They've got a great style, and they're good storytellers. They're good graphic, you know, they're good graphic artists that can just tell a story through pictures. You know, this action stuff, it's just, you know, obviously Failsafe's after Batman again, and he's got to think of ways. You know, it isn't a rehash, by the way. If you read it, you'll know it's not a rehash. Stuff like that, just love it. Love it. So anyway, thoroughly enjoying that. So, you know, again, I mean, that's the third Bat book, if you want, that I've recommended this week, because Batman Detective and Batman Beyond, I know it's a mini-series, but just doing a lovely job. Honestly, they really are, guys. And now, my book of the week. Didn't know whether this was off to too slow a start. And that's quite a creepy cover as well, to be fair. There's something evocative about that cover that I really like. Now we're going back in time from where the story has taken us. And the art has been, the art is great in it. I've got nothing wrong, and I've got nothing against the artwork. It's suited it. And Andreas Sorrentino, he's done, and Dave Stewart on the colouring, who obviously colours are low, you know, need no introduction kind of thing. And I think Sorrentino's worked with Jeff Lemire before, so they're properly in sync. And we're just following, we're just following this private eye back in the day. I won't tell you too much of the story. And he's following a woman. The woman ends up in the tenement block. But what I did, and how this story unravels, and what you think might be going on, is great. And this is where someone like Dave Stewart, I mean, I don't know what, you know, kind of, it's about. There's something about this tree. I don't know, that doesn't sound exactly the most exciting thing in the world, but bringing that red in just enough. And it gets, the story just revolves, but the bit I wanted to show was this. And how impactful this kind of, because what it's doing, it's introducing, and spoiler alert again, by the way, guys, if you haven't read Testament, I do thoroughly recommend it. So just skip the next bit if you're not up for, not a major spoiler, but it's just major characters really that I'm gonna mention when I flip this page. Is these demons. It's been building up to this. And it's quite a crescendo, and this combined with the story or the episode of the story that this is, of the seven they're called. It not only gives you a bit of a payoff for where the story's been going, but it sets up such a lot of intrigue for the following issues. So again, maybe this is a better read, because I do believe that some comics are best. Some of these modern storylines are best when they're combined, when they're in a graphic novel, and you can, just follow them all in one go. And I think that is probably, if I'm completely honest, it's only me being a nutter, and I like monthly comics, because I've just got it in me now, in my blood. But that's probably one that would be much, much better suited to a graphic novel, and it'd be thoroughly enjoyable. Like a lot of Jeff Lemire's stuff, actually. He has that slow burn. And, there's nothing wrong with that. So, cover of the week, guys. Now, obviously, this is just my little bit of fun. What if we only had enough pocket money for one comic? You remember the spinners? The spinners that they used to have in the old newsagents or drugstores in America. Now, for me, the cover is the thing that's going to lead you. Before you flick through it, you've got all these covers. So, what's cover of the week? What would you spend your pocket money on if you can only buy that one comic? It'd be the cover that led you in, really. Could it be that the story is secondary? I don't know, because these first two, obviously I haven't mentioned them. It doesn't make them bad comics, by the way. It just means that was all right. It was all right, but I think that cover's marvellous. If you're going to try and sell a comic called Predator and Wolverine. Don't be coy, guys. Don't be coy. And the same with this one, Vengeance of the Moon Knight. What are you going to do with the cover? Huh? Why has he got these? I've never seen Moon Knight use them before, but when you read the story, you realise what's going on. Batman, not so. I mean, he's on the cover, but I don't think that's probably not the best, to be fair. Then we've got Edenwood, and again, it's Tony Daniel with everything going on. But on the cover, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's a really nice design for a mask, by the way. This character's called Bastille, who's one of the main characters. These are the kind of like the gang of characters that we've kind of collected in these 3 issues. That's what I mean. I mean, there's 8 of them there, plus more, plus the villains, plus witches. Oh my God, it's all going on. It's as nutty as anything. I've got another. Oh, it's a bit of a bat. This should call this. I'm going to title this Bat Week. But again, I just think this is a beautifully drawn and coloured cover, and just a little bit of everything going on here. So if you hadn't read the comic before, and I know it's issue 6 last issue, but is that Killer Croc? Is that Poison Ivy? Is that is that not Man Thing, Swamp Thing? What is going on? Who's this evil? I just think there's a lot. Is this Court of Owls? I don't know. What's going on? I know that's Batman Beyond. And the other cover for consideration on the spinner rack over the past couple of weeks, I won't go through too many covers. So, is this Captain America cover? Now, you've obviously got to make the association with Steve Rogers. So that being said, I just there's something quite dynamic about that image that I enjoyed. So we've only got pocket money for one. Now, I think straight away I'm going to take off the Batman. That wasn't the greatest. It's George Jimenez, and I just played his art. I'm sure it's George Jimenez. Yeah, and I just praised his artwork, but it isn't the bestest cover in the world. Moon Knight, there's not a lot going on really, is there? It is a mean and moody, and I wish Finch was on the artwork, the interior artwork, to be fair. But it's mean and moody, but I don't think that makes it the top of the shop. Obviously, if you're going to buy a Predator versus Wolverine comic, you want them on. Look, and the claws are in there, and there's blood, alien blood squirting everywhere. I don't think it's Captain America. I think it is quite dynamic, but I think there are better covers going on. And as intriguing as this is, if you haven't, if you don't know, they're not famous characters, are they? Really, I know Killer Croc is, but you've got to kind of guess what's going on. And I think you might run out of patience for that. So I think it is out of these 2 this week, guys. And I think because they're so well known, I think that gives it an advantage, this cover. because you know who they are. But is this, you know, with a fire, is your curiosity gonna get you to look inspired this, or, you know, at least take this comic off the spinner and think, what the hell is going on with all these characters? So I do think for that, and it says that says in one image, fantasy going on with some weird, wonderful characters. You know, a bit of fire and a little tentacle down here, or a tail, is it? Yes, a tail, dragon's tail. So I think I'm going to go with Edenwood as the cover of the week, because I think Predator versus Wolverine, you know, that says it on the tin as well. But there's nothing wrong with that cover. That is, if you want to sell a cover, a comic called that, then that's what you do on the cover. So I've got nothing against it. But that for me is my cover of the week, because I think that's gonna sell. I think it's got it all. And on that note, thank you ever so much if you followed me all the way through my comic book ramblings, and I hope you'll join me again next week for more, well, not more of the same comics, but more of the same format, but hopefully 10 different comics, 5 for the deep dive, 5 also rans, and cover of the week. And until then, I will bid you all adios.